Why do compliments feel so awkward? Let's talk about that today on the Stepping Out of Stuck podcast. I'm your host, Ted Simmons, the superhero of shyness.
And I'm your host, Bonnie Brindle, the Anxiety Avenger.
Let's help you to get unstuck.
Okay, let's get after it.
So, talking about why compliments feel so awkward. I didn't realize it, but I've been brushing off people's compliments.
Oh boy. Really?
I always have people say that, oh, you're such a good dancer. And I go, well, oh, yeah, well, I've been doing it for years. And I didn't realize that that was a brush off until I was just talking with you about this.
Oh, it totally is. And yeah, I think sometimes when we get into something like that, that's such a habit, like, oh, I've been doing it forever. Part of it is a fact, right? You have been doing it forever, so it seems really easy. It's like ordinary to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? But to someone who's new at that, it's extraordinary that you do it so well. And yet, it is also self-protective, right?
Yes.
The brush off part of it.
Right. Yeah. Just brushing it off doesn't mean that, for the person that's complimenting me,
Mm.
they didn't get the feeling that that I accepted it.
Mm.
And I didn't realize that I was not accepting it from so many people.
Happens a lot right now.
I didn't realize it. I just realized it as we were talking about this. So that's something I have to work on. I realized that, like, in the past, there was so much of a reason not to accept a compliment because that wouldn't fit with my personal story.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, my
And I love
mom,
that you said that you just realized that this particular thing in this conversation, because this is what our whole podcast is about, right?
right?
We come on here and we talk about the shyness and anxiety issues that we and everyone else have and do deal with, and things get figured out. So what is a background? You're talking about you had like a background habit that you built around compliments?
So I think it all started, as we were just talking about this, but I think it all just started about that my mom had basically, she was always telling me that you're not good enough, you're not, you're a stupid kid, basically. And so in my head, I had this thing going on that here I was a stupid kid, and therefore I did not need, or I could not accept the compliments because I did not feel that way.
Wow. Well, at this moment, as your friend hearing this, I just want to acknowledge, which sometimes we need to for each other, acknowledge the pain that you went through as a kid in that particular place. That I could hear how deeply that hurt you. And, I'm acknowledging, understanding how deeply that hurt you. Wow. Okay. So there must be a lack of safety part of that comes up that if you agreed with someone, oh, thanks. Yeah. I love dancing. It's something I'm really into. Thanks a lot. That would come after you somewhere and knock you over, like knock you back to, yeah, but you're just a kid, right?
Almost, almost worried about the ammunition somebody else would have of you being too much of an egotist or something else like that, right?
Okay. So if you're seeing like having a big ego and, oh yeah, been dancing all my life, right? That maybe somebody's going to subvert you, so come around from the back when you're not looking, kind of feeling, and attack you with. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I have to say I have felt that too, and that's interesting because I also got a lot of criticism from my mom, but not like specific, like, oh, you're a dumb kid, you're this and that, but if I was in a position, if I put myself in a vulnerable position, like sharing with her any kind of hurt or pain that I had, she would find a way to attack me with it later. She would always come back up and later on in another context and right.
Yeah.
So that does have a connection to accepting compliments because it was harder for me when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I can say now that it's not. And so from one place to the other, when I was younger, I would kind of brush that off too, kind of like, yeah, well, yeah, whatever. I don't know what you see that's so special about what I've done or who, um, and something that I've learned in being in a place now where I can accept it, and even with just 2 words, even if like it makes you uncomfortable to address it, you can at least just say thank you.
Mm.
You have all that internal dialogue going on, but nobody needs to know it, right? Because isn't it the worst? I know as a person, I know the person you are, you work at building people up too, like I do, right? So I know you compliment people.
Yes.
What is it? Isn't it? Ugh, just ugh, comes up when the feeling when I give somebody a compliment, like, wow, you are amazing at that. That's an incredible thing you've created. And people brush it off. It's like a smack in the face. It feels terrible to have somebody shut that down.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're coming toward them with positive energy and like, that's really cool. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
yeah, it's like the air out of a balloon.
I didn't realize I was doing that to other people.
Yeah.
By just doing even little things like thank you. I've been doing it for years. It's a yes, but.
Right on the butt. It's that internal butt. Like when somebody thanks you for something, you're like, oh yeah, well, but it wasn't a big deal. That was nothing. Right? Is it like that?
Yeah. And it's almost that act of being humble is not accepting, is you being humble is not accepting that thank you.
Right. But that humble is more um not accepting yourself,
Right.
not accepting what you're good at, not accepting things that people would notice about you that are positive.
Huh.
Seems a little deeper than humble, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but to me, it was always just being humble, right?
Yeah, that's how, haven't we all been trained that? Like, yeah, don't be a snot, you
Right?
want to be humble if you want people like you.
Yeah, you don't want to seem like the egotist. You don't want to seem like the guy that's oh yes, but of course.
I'm great at everything. Right? Of course. And you know what's behind that person too. The whole
Right?
security, right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just great at everything. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, when somebody this is a really important practice, I think, for our listener to think about,
Hmm.
right? Because we know there's a hidden rule, isn't there,
Right?
behind not accepting a compliment in different ways. Like you described very concretely, your mother would attack you with reminding you that you weren't good enough, you weren't smart enough, right?
Right. Yeah.
Mine wasn't so direct about that. It wasn't so much that the compliment in that time and space, but if I shared feelings, if I ever shared any kind of especially difficult ones, she would always attack me later with them in a different way. So I was just always ready to be attacked. Like you were really specific about how your mother would attack you with it. Mine was more nebulous, but it was always there. So I never wanted to put myself into a position of, yeah, the ego piece. Oh my gosh, that just came through so strongly for me that my mother was always kind of pressing down. I always felt that feeling like she was pushing me down, pushing me down.
Yeah.
Don't get too big for your britches kind of thing.
Right.
So what's the hidden rule? A hidden rule behind not accepting a compliment gracefully. What's a hidden rule behind that?
Well, as we kind of discussed a little bit earlier, we came to this mutual one of we would disagree with our internal dialogue
Hmm.
rules. And I agree with that. I think it's the disagreement being that it would, I constantly hear that little voice of my mom,
Oh.
saying, you're not good enough. And that sometimes becomes your own internal dialogue,
Mm,
which is basically you're not good enough.
mm.
And you need to get over that. I mean, in order to accept it, you need to understand that role or what's running it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then say, well, wait a minute, but I am worth it, and I
right.
am good enough, and I am, I'm helping this person out, and they gave me a compliment, and therefore you know, I should be giving them the gift of giving me the compliment,
Like the gift of accepting it gracefully.
gift of accepting it. Yes.
Yeah,
And that, I think that pretty much summarizes it for me. I didn't realize that I wasn't giving that. And
be giving it
now,
grace. Yeah,
yeah, I thought that I was just in being humble. It made it so that then I wasn't accepting it. I was just doing but I've been doing it for years. So that's not really a compliment. I mean, that's,
right. No, it's true.
I didn't, I didn't even realize I was doing that.
I think most people don't realize when we do it. And especially around something like you with dance and the
Mhm.
things that I do with horses and working with kids and such, we're so used to what we do that it seems like, it's what we do.
Yeah, right.
Everything that everyone does on the level that we do those things is making change in the world, first of all, but is an expert on some level, and other people recognize that expertise
Hmm.
and they're attracted to it. And then, don't punch them in the face by not accepting it when they're attracted to it. So, a concrete takeaway: how can people get better at this? I think is a question we can help our listener with, right? So, if someone says, geez, Ted, I noticed that you are a really good speaker, and I I understood you really clearly, and I think that the speech that you just gave changed my life.
Wow.
When your dialogue starts,
Yeah.
what can you do to share instead of what's dying in your head? What can you say?
Wow. Thank you. That is the perfect answer for that. That is
Yeah.
just taking the time to acknowledge it and realize that that's there.
Mhm.
Adding any kind of extra to it, I didn't realize it, but it actually is a but, and it takes it away.
It does.
And
Right.
yeah,
You can evolve to a place where you say, thank you. I really appreciate that you noticed that. But
yeah,
that's not going to happen the first time you start practicing, right?
right.
The internal dialogue is going to come up and all the reasons you shouldn't accept. So if you just say those two words and smile,
Hmm.
you'll be acknowledging that person properly. And then you can go and process your own reaction
Right.
without having to share a negative. So
Yeah.
thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we were here today and had a conversation about allowing ourselves to accept a compliment gracefully and helping that person who gave that compliment to feel good about the fact that they did it. That's fair, don't you think?
I think so.
I think so too. All right. Well, we'll see you all in the next episode. And thank you for joining us.